Hello everyone, welcome to Bards and Books. I'm Usman, and today we are doing another tag video. This is called the This or That tag. I was tagged by Colin over at Colin's Corner, so thank you Colin for tagging me. Colin is another very good friend here on BookTube. He's one of the kindest guys I've met here on BookTube. He's very personable, very down to earth, and he gives very in-depth book reviews, so if you'd like to check him out, I'll link him below. But without wasting any more time, let's get to these questions. This was a tough one. This is one of the toughest tags I've done so far, so let's start. Question number 1, paperback or hardback? So I chose paperback for this one. A number of reasons. One, because I find the texture is more suitable for my preference, and whenever I'm reading it, it just feels better in my hand. It's a lot more convenient for shelf space. You can fit a lot more paperbacks on your shelf than hardbacks. And the other reason is, well, for hardbacks, they are very practical in their own right, but I find something else to kind of take over in that sense, and I'll explain that in a separate answer, but for this one, my answer is paperback. Question number 2, Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings? I choose Lord of the Rings, and it's tough because I grew up on Harry Potter. I watched all the movies, I read most of the books when I was a kid, so Harry Potter holds a special place for me, and it was instrumental in developing my love for fantasy as well. So I'll always hold a special place in my heart for Harry Potter. But Lord of the Rings, I find, especially as an adult, it's just, personally, I find the quality to just exceed it in every aspect. I mean, the world building, the races, the cultures, the languages, and just, it's just cool. It's just got cooler elements for me. And it's funny because I've only seen the movies. I haven't read the books yet. But based off of everything I've heard about The Lord of the Rings, because, everybody talks about it. And I just appreciate the vast amount of work that Tolkien put into this series. I mean, it's very old, very beloved. It stood the test of time for close to a century now, probably. Question number 3, real books or ebooks? Okay, so there are 2 questions in this tag that I have to give the answer both for, and this is one of them. Both, because real books and ebooks, they both have their uses. I prefer one over the other, and depending on the setting and the circumstances. Real books because I love the feel of them, I love the aesthetic of it, I love feeling the texture of the pages, especially when it's a good quality texture, and I just like holding a book in my hands and just reading, the old-fashioned way. It's something that I'll never get tired of. Ebooks have their preference for, say, when I'm on the go, when I'm busy, when I'm doing something, eating. You could just, especially I have Kindle on my phone, so I could just hold it with one hand, flip the pages with one hand. It's very convenient for when you need it, and I use both of them equally nowadays. So I definitely, both real books and ebooks. Question number 4, buying books or borrowing books? Definitely buying books for me. One, because I don't like to borrow things out to people myself. It grates at me, wondering if or when I'm going to get it back, because I just have some bad experience, things get damaged or never see you again. So I'm not so much of a hypocrite as to say that I would prefer to borrow things from people. I don't like that. And I'm in a fortunate enough position to be able to buy books, so I'm thankful for that. And I like going to bookstores or going wherever to find books and add them to my collection, to my shelf, so they can stay there permanently and not be borrowed. Yeah, just so many reasons why I prefer buying books. Question number 5, read in bed or in a chair? I prefer to read in bed. I read in both, but my preference is the bed. It's a lot more comfortable. I can relax, and it just provides for a better mood for reading. Occasionally I read on the couch, but I mean, I guess that's not really a chair, is it? I don't really read on a chair. It's mostly the bed. So I read on the bed. Question number 6, book club or read alone? I have a BookTube channel. That's why I made it, so I could be more sociable, so I can talk to others about the books that I read, and we can share a conversation. So definitely book club. I did grow up, reading alone, obviously. It was nice in the sense that I could just kind of reflect for myself and, just have this little thing that I hold on to for myself. But definitely nowadays, especially with me being the introvert that I am, it's a great way to be sociable, to meet people, to share conversations, and to just get to know people on a personal level, you know? When you talk about books, when you get into someone's head and realize and kind of discover what they love, you tend to just know them a little better, and you get really deep and personable with them, and it's just good in that regard. It's good for getting to know people and developing deep connections. So if we're talking what's good for my mental health and what I prefer now, what's just overall better, definitely book club. Number 7, library or bookstore. This is kind of similar to the buying or borrowing, so I have to say bookstore. I did used to go to the library. You know, if you don't have a lot of options, the library is very convenient. I understand its place and the good it does for the community, but at least the library that I go to, it doesn't have a lot of selection, so it's a little disappointing. And like I said, I'm very fortunate to be able to go to bookstores and buy books, so absolutely bookstore. Question number 8, nonfiction or fiction? I choose fiction. Although I do like nonfiction occasionally, I do have a cubicle here for nonfiction section, which I'll be doing a lot more nonfiction reading in the future, but fiction is where my heart lies. Fiction is what I've read my whole life, basically, and I find the stories within fiction to personally be more cathartic, and, you know, therapeutic in that sense, to evoke more emotion out of me, and just resonate with me, you know, overall. The stories are just they're a lot more gripping, you know. Nonfiction has its place. I'm a big history buff. I like history, geography. I like knowing facts, you know, facts that are relevant to the world we live in, and not just a fantasy or a fairy tale. So I appreciate nonfiction for that, for when I'm in a learning kind of mood. But overall, fiction, absolutely fiction. If it wasn't for fiction, I'd probably not even read. So, fiction. Question number 9, printed books or audiobooks? Easy, printed books. I'm not an audiobook guy. I've tried a few times with audiobooks. I don't know if it was the narrators or what, but it didn't click with me. And I've heard a lot of people say, yeah, the narrator really, really is crucial for enjoying, you know, an audiobook. Maybe that's what the case is for me. Maybe I haven't found any good narrators yet. But the other thing is, audiobooks, the reason why I like printed books is because I'm the narrator. I can give these characters a voice, give the story my own voice, my own personal voice, and I can kind of, it's easy to go back and reread sections, or you know, go wherever in the story you want to go and reread whatever you want to read, and kind of take a moment to pause and think about stuff. Although you can do that with audiobooks, you probably like rewind or whatever and pause. It's easier, I don't know, it's somehow easier with printed books. And like I said, I haven't had any really good experiences with audiobooks, so definitely printed books for me. Maybe in the future I'll get more into audiobooks. As of right now, no, definitely printed books. Question number 10, new books or old books? This was a little confusing for me. I'm assuming it's going by publication date, so new books being newer published books and older books, older published books. This is the other answer that I have to give the answer both to. Like I said, there are 2 questions, and this is the second one. Both. I don't care so much whether it's a new or old book. I just care whether it's a great book, or a good book at least. There are lots of good new books, lots of good old books. It's all about the story. It's all about the vibe I get, what I'm in the mood for maybe sometimes. Yeah, I don't care. New or old, as long as it's a good, gripping story. And I appreciate both of them in their own respect, like new books for being innovative and breaking the bounds of storytelling, if that makes sense. And older books for, you know, paving the way and being crucial in influencing newer work. So yeah, again, both. And finally, the last question, question 11, short chapters or long chapters? I choose short chapters. Now, I did grow up appreciating long chapters just because I took a lot of breaks, I guess, in between chapters, and whenever it's shorter chapters, you tend to take more breaks. The reading becomes a little slower. But I found that over time, long chapters are just a little more tedious, and it provides for a little bit less of a enjoyable reading experience for me because, I get a lot of anxiety, and when I'm reading long chapters, especially when I don't have a lot of time, I'm just kind of thinking, okay, how much do I have left? And it's a little anxiety inducing and just takes away your enjoyment of reading just a little bit. The reason why I appreciate short chapters so much now is because, one, it's super convenient for being on the go, and as an adult, your lifestyle is really on the go a lot, so you can quickly finish up a chapter and just do whatever else you're doing, and then start a new chapter when you have time again. And the other part to that is short chapters encourage me to read more. They make me a more productive reader inadvertently because, you can quickly get through a chapter and then just say, oh, well, let me get through another chapter, and let me get through another chapter. And it just flows a little more smoothly for me for some reason. And yeah, you just read things faster. That's the way it is for me. So short chapters. And that is it for the This or That tag. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Colin at Colin's Corner for tagging me. And if you enjoyed this video, if you are interested in doing this tag, consider yourself tagged. So again, thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Feel free to like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel. I'll probably be doing a lot more tag videos in the near future, depending on if I get tagged or if I see something that piques my interest. But until then, I'll see you all next time, and take care.